Some of you may know Mark Skinner. Mark is with the Highland Group. He heads the Highland Group, is the president there. Mark is one of the foremost brain trusts, if you will, on statistics within the Extended Stay Lodging Association. I talked to Mark and he had offered us a few slides to talk on an overview of where we are today from a mid-year standpoint in extended stay. Now the interesting part about it is what goes behind us is not what goes in front of us. So some of the material, some of the data, some of the definitions no longer will exist as we go forward. And we will explain and talk a little bit about that in the ever-changing aspect of Extended Stay Lodging Association, Extended Stay segment. Okay. So, let's see. So let's take a look at what was the definition, even last year, of extended stay market of hotels. As hotels with a fully equipped kitchenette in each room which accepts reservation and does not require a lease. We'll talk how that definition is changing, especially with the emergence of so many new brands. But this, in fact, is how these statistics that you're going to see were developed with brands that meet this criteria. So a little over 571 rooms currently in the U.S. as of this June, but only represents 10% total of the U.S. hotel rooms, amassing a little over $14 billion in revenue in 19, a significant drop though in 2020, but then back right up in 21 and continue to grow nicely into 22. And mid-year 23 is about 9% up mid-year over last year, year to date in 22. Okay. So it speaks to the resiliency. I know that in our products, and we were very fortunate, let's say, to run an average in our extended stay products of about 90% occupancy. Throughout COVID, we were running 73, 74%. Still making cash flow, still keeping everybody employed. And we'll talk again more about the resiliency in the market itself. Within the market, though, there are a variety of upscale, mid-price, and economy. And again, these definitions are what was, not necessarily what is or what will be as we go forward. But it was defined upscale as above $135 average rate, mid-scale in the 75 to 135, and then economy under the 75 market. You'll see, even though this looks like a lot of product, we will talk about the new products coming into the marketplace over the next year or more that actually have recently been in the market and now have quite a development pipeline going forward, which you'll see things will blur a little bit as some of what would be otherwise known as economy brands are running well into the 75 to 135 range on a daily basis, and the brands that actually run under $75 will be somewhat more limited. That speaks to the strength of extended stay, it speaks to the average rate power of extended stay, and how it's meeting certain demands that were not met prior by the other 90% of the hotels that exist. RevPAR ratios. In 1990, they were running about 80% RevPAR within the economy section. Now, they are over 96% RevPAR index in the second quarter for all extended stay economy products. Now they differ, and you'll see in a moment how they differ from economy to mid-scale to luxury. In the mid-priced area, it was about 93% occupancy in 19, and now it's about 104% RevPAR index. Significant growth in the past year. Okay. Move back here. I may have skipped one. Mid-priced. I did not. But let me tell you that luxury is actually following the mid-price and even higher in the RevPAR index. So the products that are running in excess of $135 average rate are dominating in the marketplaces, up to 110% on average as a RevPAR index across the system. Okay. So that gives you a little bit of where we have been over the past year, and the panel will talk about where we are today and where we are going. I thought of this phrase last year, and I'd like to offer it to you, and maybe it'll stick, we'll see. But the secret to some is now the secret to none. Okay. Extended stay is the hottest segment going today for a number of reasons. And so, panel, let's jump into our questions, if I may. And so, let me start with what really makes, because in this discussion it's fair to have a baseline of what makes extended stay its own segment. Why, in fact, is it different? So, Dave, let me start with you, if I may. And from any standpoint, how do you see extended stay being a completely separate market from other hotel-style brands?
Well, I think just by the nature of a transient hotel versus an extended stay hotel, I mean, obviously the length of stay, but everything changes. Your labor model changes, your margins change, right? So I like the quote that you just said, and repeat it again. The secret to
The secret to none,
none
is
is
now
now
the secret to some is now a secret to none.
And so when you look at what happened with the pandemic really validated what the secret sauce of extended stay is. You know, you had hotels that were running in the mid-70s occupancies, but yet the owners were still making a lot of money. What's the major difficulty of a lot of hotel owners right now? It's labor, right? So if you look at extended stay, whether it is mid-scale, upper mid-scale, or especially economy, you're running it from anywhere from 5 to 7 FTEs all the way up to, with a stay average maybe 20, right? And so owners started really looking at this segment as an alternative to the traditional transient hotel industry. Almost where you can operate this as a short-term rental when you're looking at the economy space,
Right.
and have margins that are close to 65%. Now, I don't know any hotel owner in this room who wouldn't want to have 65% margins.
And let's just stop for 1 second. If you look at the various segments for a moment, so a full-service hotel, and again, give or take markets, this is not a perfect number, but maybe running somewhere around a 17-19% GOP, gross operating profit. And after fees and taxes, whatever, somewhat less. A limited service product probably runs into 27 to up to 38% GOP level. And then a little bit less after expenses. The extended stay model generally runs in the 40% to up to mid-60s. Okay, so even with that, and I can speak from personal experience, that the net NOI in many of the hotels that I have exceed 30% cash on cash. Okay, so as Dave was relating, the performance is significantly different, and by itself, and there are a variety of reasons Dave mentioned about the staffing model, is completely different, but there are other aspects of it.
Yeah, but Doug, even before you go there, and what Robert said, here we are representing extended stay. Within extended stay, there are so many different segments. How the economy extended stay world operates is very, very different to what extended stay was 10, 15 years ago and what Staybridge residents in it. So you've seen an evolution in the segmentation within the extended stay that really validates what the entire model is.
Doug, what you're saying about the secret to none, when I first joined Value Place, we used to always say we were the best kept secret locker because it was a sort of a segment, economy extended stay. It was a niche segment. Not a lot of people wanted to get into the segment because they had sort of a misperception of what it really was. But over time, I think really the evolution has been the key. Extended stay is not a glamorous segment, like to say. There's nothing glamorous about extended stay, except for the returns. That's really where the glamour comes in, right? And I think what people forget with the extended stay, the reason you want to invest in this segment, the reason it continues to attract so much capital, end of the day, extended stay is good for guests, but it's actually better for owners because of the low employee count, the low cost operating, the demand supply balance, everything's set up. And with, I think, two kind of turning points in addition to the pandemic was when Choice Hotels reached out and they purchased Wood Spring Suites and they kind of made a statement that we're going to invest in extended stay. That really, I think, began to put extended stay on the map, and as people saw the success we're having with the growth and with the repeat owners going in, that sort of acted as an accelerant to bring the segment toward us today. So we went from the best kept secret that it's fair to say the hottest segment in lodging. It's sort of an evolution over time.
Well, I think it's worth mentioning, though, the representation on the stage is quite phenomenal, to be honest with you. I represent Homewood Suites, Home 2 Suites, and our project H3, which is our pure extended stay play. But if you look at Homewood Suites, our average length of stay is 3.1 nights. If you look at home two, the average length of stay is 2.9 nights. On any given night, we've probably got anywhere from 44 to 34% of available rooms attributed to extended stay. But the magic is, why I love and fell in love with the segment, is because 5 nights for us is defined, or extended stay for us is defined as 5 nights. There is no trouble in this industry filling up on a Tuesday, Wednesday. Anybody can do that. But for extended stay, you have to arrive on a Sunday, you fill a Monday, and you fill a Thursday. And that's the magic of this business, if you are disciplined to execute extended stay as a business. But you have to be disciplined to do it. You cannot run an extended stay asset as a transient asset. You don't have the labor pool to do it. So I love the discipline behind this industry. All of you guys do an exceptional job of managing the discipline within your respective segments.
Yeah. And Doug, I love that because even what Rick just said, the definition of what he just described is extended stay occupancy is different. We actually describe it as the percentage of occupancy that is 7 nights and higher. And so for our brand, Favorite Suites, that's generally around kind of 50 to 55% of every night's occupancy is attached to someone who is staying at least a week or more. And for Kenwood Suites, it's 60 plus. And so even the way you think about managing the business is different across brand companies. And I think I just want to hone in on what we started to talk about in terms of labor models. And so for a brand like Kenwood Suites, you're typically talking about 10 to 13 FTEs. And as you distinguish between those brands, there's probably 3 areas that you look at. One is sort of the amount of, I'll call it departmental leadership you need. That sort of differs from economy up to, you know, where we play in Homewood, Residence, Favorite Suites. Then there's amount of housekeepers you need, which is dictated by how often you clean the rooms. So on Kenwood Suites, we intentionally don't touch a guest's room for 7 days, right? That means there's less stayover cleans, and if you're running high E-stock, there's less checkout cleans. For Favorite Suites, we do late light touch housekeeping Monday through Friday. We do your full clean on the weekends. And so that also changes the amount of housekeepers that you need. I think the last is, at least in terms of the upper part of the market, is how much F&B labor that you have. We offer a complimentary breakfast 7 times a week on Savers, along with an evening happy hour. That just sort of gives you a sense of how to pull apart some of these labor assumptions in terms of departmental leads. And then some brands, it really differs on whether you have a director of sale on property or whether you're getting a lot of your business fed by above property. And so these are types of questions we want you to kind of ask us during the reception as you peel apart how staffing models are dictated by the brand.
We're rolling into a variety of areas, just trying to bring us back here a touch, because Justin's absolutely correct. But at lunch we talked about hotel brands giving less, charging more, okay, getting further away from the guests and their needs. It's different though in extended stay. Each of the brands that have created these particular models, like a Canada or a Staybridge, have done countless hours of examining what does the customer want. If you're going to stay somewhere for one night, what do you want? You might want to get in quick, get out, you want a comfortable bed, you want a few different things, and that's it. Let me go and do my business. If you're going to stay somewhere 7 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, in some cases a year, okay, your needs are different. Not only from an amenity standpoint, but how the greeting is. Do you want this residential feel? So I think that although the brands are different, have different labor models, have different offerings, it's not how little can we give the guest, it's what's important to the guests. And therefore, those amenities are spot on. And that's why they have the highest satisfaction level anyway for guest comments, is because you're giving the customer what they want, regardless of it is pure economy or more in the higher end luxury markets. The GLPs and the profitabilities remain relatively the same. It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, Joe, it's interesting. We had a conversation prior to jumping on the stage about that. And one thing that should have come up maybe over lunch is about choice and control. You have to give the consumer choice and control to dictate their journey. We need to provide them what they need in order to take their journey. So for example, we rolled out a prototype at Homewood Suites in April of 2021. We listened to guest feedback, and some of the things that we introduced are things like a low labor bar solution, which is a tap wall, where a guest can buy an RFD card, pop it in, and draw themselves 12 ounces of beer. That's your choice, but I'm going to provide you with that as an option when you stay at Homewood Suites. Elevated retail, partnerships with places like Toronto. So I think as an industry,